Just when I thought I was going to have a nice, relaxing evening, taking a break from all the streaming that I've done this week with all the new heroes, Yoshi had to go and release a brand new balance patch. And this is chock full of a bunch of balance changes for different heroes, and also the brand new Street Brawl mode. That's right, we're getting Street Brawl specific balance changes. That's gonna be spicy. So, as always, a link to the patch notes will be in the description down below if you want to follow along. And while you're down there, make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on any future balance update videos and other content from me. So let's get started by taking a look at the hero selection screen, where nothing looks too out of the ordinary until you actually hover over a specific hero. And you see that, well, you can left click to add to roster, or you can middle click to avoid hero. That's right, hero bans are here. Now, you can middle click on one hero in the entire roster to ban them, making it so that you're much less likely to see this hero in this match. Now, it's not a total guarantee that you won't see the hero that you have banned here. There's a maximum of 2 bans per match, so not everyone's hero bans are necessarily going to apply. But this should limit the amount of times that you see a character that you just really don't like. So if you hate Shiv or Bebop or any hero like that, you can mitigate the amount of times you see them in a match and just take them out. Remove them from the roster. Very nice feature. I know a lot of people are going to love this. Parties of 3 or more players will also now need 4 heroes in their roster instead of 3 in order to queue, which I guess is a change meant to maybe improve matchmaking times and also maybe stop the queue manipulation that I've been doing in order to guarantee the new heroes. So I guess I'm going to need a 5 stack now to guarantee heroes like Graves? I don't know. Interesting change, I guess. They also added dash speed to the vitality stats of every hero, so you can see just how fast or slowly they dash, although it seems like this is just 0 meters for every hero, from what I could tell on the side of the screen here. So, seems like they need to hotfix that already, but it's always nice to see more information. Now, we have 2 global changes here that hurt gun builds. First of all fire rate increases and reductions from most abilities and items have been reduced globally by a small amount. So, this means that, for example, Heroic Aura here now has 26% fire rate instead of 30%, and many of the other fire rate items like Swift Striker here are worse. But that also means that items like Juggernaut are a little bit weaker too, minus 36% fire rate instead of minus 40%. So, just making guns go brrr a little less. The second global change that they've made is that bullet resist shred now works differently. It no longer will actually affect the bullet that applies the minus bullet resist in the case of an item like Weakening Headshot. So, as you can see here on McGinnis, the first headshot on Abrams does 12 damage, and now the subsequent shots will be boosted up to 13 damage. So that first shot isn't affected by the bullet resist shred, every subsequent shot is. It ends up being a very, very small change. In this case, it's literally a difference of 1 damage, but I guess it does make gun builds a little bit weaker. And this is now in line with Mystic Vulnerability. Mystic Vulnerability had the same effect, where it wasn't good on Burst Spirit builds because the burst of damage wouldn't actually be affected by the Spirit Resist Shred. And so, for example, on this turret, the first shot from the turret is going to do 11 damage, and then the subsequent shots are boosted. Although, the turret's damage is so small that it's bouncing between 11 and 12 anyways. It's literally a decimal change. But it's the same concept here, so if you know how Mystic Vulnerability works, that's also now how Weakening Headshot works. Alright, so now let's take a look at the item balance changes, of which there are many, starting with the gun items. Kinetic Dash has received another nerf, and this is honestly a little bit more of a bug fix than anything. So Kinetic Dash used to have an interesting interaction where you could actually get more ammo than was intended from this item by using it when you were reloading and scaling it with items like Titanic Magazine in order to greatly extend your ammo pool. Because basically, the 90% max ammo from Titanic Magazine would also affect the 6 ammo from Kinetic Dash, and so if you did something like this where you reload and then towards the end you dash jump, you would end up getting more than 6 ammo in your clip. Instead, you would get like 9 ammo or 10 ammo, something like that. So that interaction has been fixed, and now Kinetic Dash is properly giving you just 6 ammo, regardless of if you have other ammo increase items like Titanic Magazine. It makes sense. It seems like a bug fix, to be honest, but it is also a nerf to the item. Intensifying Magazine got a small buff. The time for max damage has been decreased by half a second, and Slowing Bullets has also received some changes. It no longer provides fire rate, and now provides 15% weapon damage, so this just got worse on Haze, womp womp. And they have also buffed the dash distance reduction from -20% to -25%, and given it a minor improvement in build-up rate, which definitely makes up for the fact that you don't have that extra fire rate. So it's better at slowing, but on characters who really benefit from fire rate, like Haze, it's going to be a little bit less effective than it was. Hollow Point finally got a nerf. It took them long enough. It's a tiny nerf, though. They reduced the bullet resist reduction from -12% to -9%. And I mean, yeah, that is definitely impactful. Hollow Point is worse, but personally, I was thinking that this item needed nerfs to the passive effects, the out-of-combat regen and the bonus health, more than it needed nerfs to the actual more active effect. Because, I mean, those stats are kind of absurd for a gun item to have. This gives more bonus health than Hunter's Aura, and Hunter's Aura is designed for up-close characters. This is designed for, like, backliner characters, and they get to have more health than the tanks. Like, what? So, yeah, I'm a little bit surprised with how they decided to nerf this item, but a nerf is welcome regardless of what they hit. Alchemical Fire has also received a nerf. This has been a very popular item as of recently, and so they nerfed the bullet resist reduction from 8 to 7%, and nerfed the spirit scaling component by a very small decimal value. It went from a small decimal to an even smaller decimal. Thanks, guys. Glass Cannon got nerfed again on the max health component, going from -13% to -15% max health. Ouch. Lucky Shot has also been nerfed, which is not surprising in the slightest, because this is a very meta gun item at the moment, and so they nerfed the max ammo from 40 to 30, and they nerfed the bonus weapon damage from 110 to 100%. Finally, Capacitor received a sort of shift in its balance. It now has a shorter cooldown from 50 seconds down to 40 seconds, but the slow has also been nerfed from 4 seconds down to 3 seconds, so you can apply it more frequently, but it wears off faster. Now let's take a look at the green items, starting with melee lifesteal. The cooldown penalty has been reduced for light melees from 2x down to 1.5x, so a little bit easier to use the item. Lifestrike also received the same bonus. Extra regen got a very nice buff. It now provides 1 out of combat regen, so if you're out of combat, your total regen is up to 4 on this item, making it much more savory than sprint boots. Some people would prefer to get this item because it gives 2 out of combat regen, which is only 1 less than extra regen, and so if you're out of combat, you get sprint speed and you get 2 regen. I mean, it basically was just better in some situations, and now extra regen really does pack a punch on the out of combat regen. And similarly, this has been added to healing booster and healing tempo, and healing tempo is up to 4 out of combat regen. Restorative Locket, one of the least used items, if not the least used item in the entire game, has finally received a gauntlet of buffs. Let's take a look at this. The cooldown has been reduced from 30 seconds to 20 seconds. They changed it from 6% spirit resist to 8% spirit resist. It is now, unfortunately, self-cast only. You can't use it to heal other people, but it will also restore more stamina. It now restores up to 3 stamina based on how many stacks you have, and so you can potentially get more stamina than before at max stacks. So a lot of very big buffs to Restorative Locket, especially if you were using it selfishly anyways, and so we'll see if this finally is an item that more people decide to pick up. Fury Trance's lifesteal has gone from 22% down to 18%. It is still an upgrade from Bullet lifesteal, but only by 2%, so it's not that big of a change anymore. Alright, Yoshi, is this some kind of sick joke? What do you mean we're nerfing Stamina Mastery? This is like objectively the most fun item in the game. What are we, huh? Okay. So, the air dash distance has been reduced from 30% to 23%, and the stamina recovery has been reduced from 20% to 18%. But why? That's not fun. Okay. Debuff Remover just got a rework. Whoa, what? Okay, so this item no longer builds from Debuff Reducer. It is now a standalone Tier 3 item, and it no longer grants debuff resistance or bonus health, instead only granting 14% Spirit Resist. It still has the active component, but the move speed has also been reduced from 2.25 down to 2 meters, so really just hard nerfs to debuff remover across the board. Frankly, I'm surprised by this. This feels like a very necessary item that I'm glad exists to counter debuffs, and they made it worse at its job. So, I'm not sure I like this change. I mean, the rename is cool, I guess, but still, this is a little out of left field for me. Debuff Reducer also got some changes, so it no longer grants bonus health, but the debuff resist has gone from 20% up to 25%. Very cool. And it now also builds into Spellbreaker if you want, so Spellbreaker still has 25% debuff resist. They did, however, lower the spirit resistance from 25% down to 18%. And Unstoppable also got some buffs. The bonus health went from 75 up to 125, and the debuff resistance matches debuff reducer at 25%. So it looks like Spellbreaker just got a whole lot more accessible, and Dispel Magic got shafted. Interesting. The last green item to talk about is Inhibitor. The weapon damage bonus has gone from 15% up to 22%, and the bonus health has gone from 125 to 150. A little bit more savory of an item. Last but not least, we have the spirit items. So first of all, Mystic Regeneration now provides 40 bonus health. That's a very big buff. I like that. Cool. And similarly, Radiant Regen also gives 65 bonus health, so both these items getting a nice bit of love this patch. Cold Front has also received some changes. The vertical hitbox has increased from 2.5 meters to 3.5 meters, and the spread duration has increased from 0.5 seconds to 0.6 seconds. This actually makes it much better on the Lash. That's immediately my first thought for this, because if you get the tier 2 here, struck enemies will be knocked up, and that makes Cold Front inconsistent, but I bet now if I just slam them and then immediately use this, yeah, it hits them real consistently now, so Cold Front is back on the menu for the Lash. Arctic Blast also naturally inherited both of these buffs. Mystic Slow and Lightning Scroll also got 2% more dash distance slow. Hooray! Quicksilver Reload also seems to be back on the menu for characters who like to use its bonus damage component because, well, the damage still starts out pretty low at just 46 damage, but it now ramps up with spirit powers. So, come late game, both Quicksilver Reload and its upgrade, Mercurial Magnum, will actually do way more bonus damage. If I go ahead and get Boundless Spirit right now, we're looking at 64 bonus damage on Quicksilver Reload and 80 bonus damage on Mercurial Magnum. I mean, it's not like a crazy big difference, but it adds up, and it's going to feel really good, again, on the Lash and other characters like Mo and Krill. Silence Wave also got more bonus damage in the form of a spirit scaling buff, from 0.3 to 0.6. That's actually a very big deal, and you can see with my current spirit setup right now, I'm getting 73 bonus damage on the Silence Wave. People are actually going to start dying to this ability now. That's crazy. Rapid Recharge just got a very interesting power shift, and I'm not sure how to feel about it. So they reduced the time between charges from 50% down to 30%. That really sucks for a lot of characters, especially Graves, the new character who just came out, because it's going to limit how many minions you can have on the field at any given time. They also reduced the bonus spirit power for charged abilities from 14 to 10, but they did give charged abilities 14% faster raw cooldown reduction. So, that's certainly going to feel good for some characters like Grey Talon, who really likes to have cooldown reduction on his arrows so he can spam them out more. So, this is really going to benefit some heroes, but hurt some other heroes. It's a very interesting power shift. Back to buffs for the Lash. Mystic Reverb got, well, a Spirit Lifesteal nerf from 15% down to 10% passively, but the Imbued ability now has 30% Imbued Lifesteal. Oh my goodness! So I can put that on my wonderful little ground slam, hop up here, reduce my health, and take a look at that lifesteal. Oh yeah. So that is very juicy, very nice buff to this item. Echo Shard no longer has a cast time. You know how you had to do a little animation to get your ability back first? Well, yeah, that's a thing of the past. So I can do this and then immediately do that. And that's actually, oh man. Lash is getting buffed this patch, so is Bebop. Look at how fast you can do this on the bombs now. Boom, that was instant. Oh my goodness, that's gonna feel good. They are really just buffing Spirit this patch. Spirit Burn also got a buff. The Spirit damage now also scales with Spirit Power. Hooray! So, if you combine this with Boundless Spirit and other Spirit items on a Spirit build, this thing is going to chunk enemy health. Curse also got renamed this update to Cursed Relic. I don't think that was really necessary. I think Curse worked just fine, but I digress. Anyways, this got a very steep penalty this update. So instead of granting you plus 15% weapon damage, it now gives you an 8% damage penalty. So all of your outgoing damage will be reduced by 8% if you choose to buy this item. And frankly, I think this is deserved, because the later on you get into a deadlock match, the more it turns into an arms race of who has more curses, because there's almost no counterplay to this item. It's an auto-aimed effect that prevents you from doing literally anything except interacting with the melee system. So yeah, it's pretty powerful, and it also got that buff not that long ago where it removes all of the buffs on the enemy player. So yeah, I think this is a very sensible trade-off, and you're going to see a lot fewer people picking this up, and I, for one, welcome that change. Alright, now let's take a look at the hero-specific balance, and there will be no changes for the brand new heroes here, only changes to existing heroes that were already in the game before the update. So, starting off with Abrams, he got a fall-off nerf from 20 meters to 46 meters down to 17 meters to 40 meters. A little bit less poke on this character. Alright, fair enough. They also reduced his bullet damage growth from 0.154 to 0.13. They also shifted the tier 3 siphon life a little bit, so the DPS has gone down from 31 to 20, but the tier 3 will also improve damage scaling. So the normal damage scaling is 0.5. Now the scaling goes up to 0.7, and so if you get enough spirit power on this character, Siphon Life will be doing more damage than before. They also gave a bug fix to Shoulder Charge. The tier 1 upgrade here was actually proccing on non-heroes too, which wasn't intended. So it's going to feel, I guess, a little bit weaker if you were abusing that, but most players won't notice this at all. Finally, they buffed the Seismic Impact, and they actually did a change to Seismic Impact that I introduced in my balance patch. I'm starting to think Yoshi actually might watch my videos from time to time, because, well, the stun duration has gone from 1.5 to 1.6, meaning that now you will actually be able to heavy melee somebody without getting parried from your ultimate ability. Yeah, that feels good. Thank you, Yoshi. I'm so happy to see this. Also, as if that wasn't enough, they buffed the damage from 55 up to 75, and they improved collision consistency with this ability. So Abrams is feeling real good this patch. Alright, let's take a look at Bebop. He got a lot of changes here. First of all, Exploding Uppercut Tier 3. Instead of giving you ammo back, it now restores 20% of your missing health, and it still also sets Grapple Arm cooldown to 0. So if I have health myself a bit, and then pop the Exploding Uppercut, I just got 148 healing, making this a pretty good sustain option. So yeah, bit of a trade-off, and I guess Gun Bop got a little worse because of it, but I think most Bebop players will welcome the change. So now let's take a look at the Sticky Bomb. They have basically reworked this ability this patch. It does not work at all like how it used to, so let's examine what exactly happened here. First of all, the damage. The Tier 2 has been buffed from 70 to 75, hooray! But these stacks will start diminishing now after 60 hits and 7 kills, rather than 100 hits and 10 kills. So, overall, probably a little bit less damage in the late game. But where things start to get interesting is when we take a look at the actual mechanics of the Sticky Bomb. First of all, no matter how hard I try, I cannot self-cast Sticky Bomb. No more self-bombing. Uh-oh. So that's a concerning change for a lot of Bebop players. However, take a look at this. So I'm going to make this Bebop mimic me, apply the bomb, and then debuff remove the bomb. And as you can see, the bomb just drops on the floor. The bomb still exists as a damaging tool, it's just no longer actually attached to the player. And so Dispel Magic It still counters Bebop if you can get away from the bomb in time, but it's not as much of a hard counter as it used to be. And so this is a very, very interesting mechanical change to Bebop. And if you're a Bebop main, comment down below what you think about these changes. Has this saved the character for you? Has this ruined the character for you? I want to know how you feel about this, because I don't play Bebop at all. I think the changes are interesting, but I can't really speak to how they're going to affect the character. Billy got more nerfs. Yay! So, his bullet damage growth has been reduced from 0.18 to 0.165. His blasted amp, however, has been slightly increased from 9% to 10%, but the bonus health has also been tweaked a little bit. So the starting bonus health has been reduced from 80 to 70, but the spirit scaling has improved from 0.7 to 0.8. His ultimate, however, has just received full nerfs, so the damage has been reduced from 150 to 120, and Chain Gang will always go on full cooldown after interruption. I didn't even realize that it had a partial cooldown if it was interrupted, so I guess that's good. Yeah, wow, shows how much I know about this character. Yay. Drifter got some massive and frankly well-needed buffs. So the isolation range, first and foremost, has been reduced from 25 meters to 20 meters, making it way easier to get those weapon stacks and amplified damage. That already is pretty powerful. They also buffed the Tier 3 Stalker's mark to make the mark last for 2 more seconds, so you will end up getting a lot more damage out of that, and more of an opportunity to wait for your ambush, so I can still teleport to it even now and ambush this Bebop. Finally, they fixed the Stalker's Mark not gaining charges from items after upgrading the Tier 3, and they reduced the cooldown of Eternal Night down to just a flat 2 minutes. Very nice. Grey Talon is getting a whole suite of buffs this patch, and if you thought the last Guided Owl buffs were crazy, you ain't seen nothing yet. So, Grey Talon now is getting double the spirit power from Guided Owl kills that he did just a couple of months ago. They recently buffed it to 8 spirit power per kill, and now it's up to 10 spirit power per kill. That is bananas. And they reduced the cooldown again from 120 seconds to 110 seconds, and with the Tier 2, you are now looking at a 65-second cooldown for Guided Owl. And I know what you're thinking, what if we get superior cooldown? Yeah, that's a 52-second cooldown on this ultimate ability. Okay, that's very, very reasonable and totally not broken in any way, shape, or form. Thanks, Grey Talon. Finally, the Rain of Arrows air speed has been increased from 3.8 to 4.1, so you're moving just a little bit faster, and the Spirit Snare lifetime has increased from 20 seconds to 22 seconds. Grandpa, once again getting a lot of buffs. He's gonna start feeling pretty good, especially with all the spirit item changes that we discussed earlier. Ivy got 2 changes this update. One of them was a change to something about her that I didn't even know about. Apparently, she had reduced melee damage. So, that's been changed? Melee Ivy is a thing? Question mark? Second of all, she got a massive quality of life change that I'm so happy to see. So airdrop now has a very brief period where allies cannot cancel to prevent accidental cancels. There is a grace period. I can't even count the amount of times that I've accidentally dropped myself out of an airdrop because I was just jumping around when the Ivy decided to pick me up, and it instantly dismounted me from her ultimate. So this is a very welcome change, and I'm sure Ivy mains everywhere are going to appreciate this. Kelvin is getting some buffs? Oh no. Don't worry, it's mostly to the Ice Path. So Ice Path Tier 2 has increased from minus 15 seconds cooldown to minus 17 seconds of cooldown. And the Tier 3 max spirit power has gone from 75 up to 90, and the duration has gone up from 8 seconds to 9 seconds. So those Ice Path upgrades are a bit more savory now. And then finally, the Ice Dome will now last a quarter of a second longer. Which may not seem like much, and granted it isn't much, but I suppose when you scale it up with superior duration, it'll actually start to mean something. Now, all those spirit item changes I discussed earlier are amazing for the Lash, so it makes sense that he's getting a couple of nerfs this patch, but he's also getting some bug fixes. Oh yeah. So, the Ground Strike should now properly do damage on stairs and other slopes instead of just getting broken. And I say should because, well, there's a chance that there will still be some situations where it doesn't, but it should just feel a lot better to use now. That's amazing. However, they have also made it so that you can't just turn around 360 degrees when you do the ground slam. You can still look behind you, but there's a lot less freedom of mobility with this thing. There is only a 90-degree window from which you can redirect the ground strike now, so you're going to have to be a little bit more deliberate with where you cast it. And if you just cast it normally, shouldn't be that big of an issue, but if you like trying to do those fancy, like, flicks around and, trying to hit people behind you and stuff like that, it's not going to work anymore. They also nerfed the Tier 1 upgrade of Grapple by 2 seconds of cooldown reduction, and they nerfed the Spirit scaling of Flog rather substantially from 1.1 down to 0.85. Mina is getting a ton of nerfs. Thank goodness. So first of all, she is much less mobile. Her move speed has been reduced from 6.6 to 6.5, and more importantly, her stamina cooldown has increased from 3.6 to 3.9 seconds. So no more infinite stamina Mina. Your stamina is going to be a little bit slower to come back now. They also reduced the Rake Heal Spirit scaling from 0.5 to 0.43, which is a pretty powerful nerf, and they reduced Love Bite's bonus damage Spirit power scaling from 1.7 to 1.6. Finally, something that I'm very grateful for, they nerfed the Tier 3 of Love Bites from -2 stamina to -1 stamina. I've been trolled so much by this. I'll be fighting a Mina, and then all of a sudden, I have no stamina, I can't move, I can't go anywhere, and then I die. So this will be a little bit more forgiving, and honestly, that's the change I'm looking forward to the most. Paige is getting 2 very reasonable nerfs. Defend and Fight's barrier has gone from 150 down to 125, and Captivating Reed's damage has gone from 120 down to 90. Fair enough. Shiv is just getting 1 change this update, but it is a very impactful nerf. So the spirit scaling of the impact damage on serrated knives has been cut down by more than half, from 0.558 to 0.25. Ouch! That is going to dramatically lower his damage output on the knives, really hurt the impact damage. Yeah, that's a pretty big change. Victor is getting 1 nerf. The spirit scaling of Aura of Suffering has been reduced from 0.23 and 1.15 to 0.18 and 0.92. So a little bit less self-damage, a little bit less damage dealt to other players too. Finally, they nerfed Gun Viscous. Took him long enough. So, obviously, alongside all the global gun nerfs and nerfs to the gun items, Viscous's bullet damage per boon has been reduced from 0.5 to 0.36. That is a very big damage decrease. Gun is hopefully no longer the meta way to play this character, and especially with the buffs to many of the spirit items in the game, I'm really hoping that we see a return to ball meta, or maybe even a punch meta, although that part might not exactly materialize. Let's take a look at the other changes. So Viscous' spirit per boon has increased from 1.1 to 1.3, that's very good. But Puddle Punch displacement duration has been reduced from 1 second to 0.8 seconds. And they also nerfed the cube tier 3. So it'll still remove debuffs, just not ult debuffs, so you can no longer cleanse Pocket's Affliction and other similar debuffs with the cube. You're still going to have to deal with those, but it's still very beneficial to be in the cube for some of those debuffs because you'll be able to ignore most of the effects thanks to the immunity that you get. Lethal Venom is getting a whole host of changes. First of all, the max damage has gone down from 165 to 140, and the max damage will now happen at 30% HP instead of 25% HP. So it'll be a little bit more consistent to get those big bursts, but the big bursts won't be as powerful. They also nerfed the cooldown from 20 seconds up to 24 seconds, but the tier 2 upgrade will now reduce the cooldown by 8 seconds, meaning that you'll actually have a lower cooldown than before once you upgrade to the tier 2. Finally, Screwjab Dagger, tier 3, is getting some changes. It's increased from 40% charge cooldown to 55%, and the Petrifying Bullet damage has also been substantially increased from 45 at minimum up to 50 at minimum, and 165 at maximum up to 180 at maximum. So, yeah, I guess some decent changes to Vyper here, especially if you're a spirit enjoyer. Uh-oh, Vindicta's Assassinate just got a huge balance change. So, she now has A scaling mechanic very similar to Drifter. Instead of granting souls after assassinating a character and just materializing wealth out of thin air, she now gets permanent weapon damage per kill with Assassinate. So the more people you kill with Assassinate, the more gun damage you're going to do. It starts out at 5% weapon damage per kill, and when you upgrade to the tier 3, you get 4% extra weapon damage per kill, 9% in total. Which means that if you're able to land those snipes, you can potentially build up so much more weapon damage than Drifter. Drifter's got nothing on Vindicta, man. Yeah, that is a pretty crazy change. I'm a little scared to see what Vindicta players are going to do with this. But, at the very least, they hopefully won't be richer than everyone else in the lobby, and so in that sense, it is a little bit of a nerf. It's really just a very massive shake-up to this character. And, finally, stick tether length no longer increases when capture radius increases. So, you can pull them in from a longer distance away, but the actual size of the arena, the tether, is just 9 meters. So if I just throw this here, it should, pull the Bebop in. So I guess that means the stake will be a little bit more effective at keeping people within those 9 meters that you want them to be in. All these exciting changes, but we end off with a dud. Warden's bullet damage growth has been reduced from 0.47 to 0.44. I mean, okay, it's a fine balance change, it's just boring. Okay, he got nerfed. Alright, now let's talk about Street Brawl. This game mode has received a ton of changes, and they're attempting to give this game mode unique balance changes for the characters and items found within. So the balance for this game will not affect the core game mode, but it will make this game mode hopefully a little bit more fair. So let's talk about some of the general changes that they've made. First of all, if you select the random hero option and have the matchmaker just choose you any character under the sun, then it will grant you a bonus reroll for the first 2 rounds to help you tailor your items a little bit better. Troopers also now have 20% spirit resist, and during overtime they will have an additional 20% spirit resist, making characters like Seven a little bit worse at clearing them out. Legendary items have had their drop rates increased very slightly, which is awesome because they're very fun and interesting. And ultimates have also had their initial cooldown increased by 5 seconds, so you have a little bit more time to just fight normally at the start of the round before you have to worry about ults coming out. The trooper spawn rate has also generally been increased. There will be more troopers in the earlier rounds, and the troopers overtime bonus DPS is increased by 20%. Objective resist decay now peaks at 2.2 minutes rather than 2.5 minutes, so you'll be able to destroy the objectives a little bit earlier in the round, and the objective resist decay now goes to minus 60% instead of minus 50%. So this is going to have the goal of making the rounds end even faster than they already are. Finally, they removed the global 40% healing reduction. And apparently it didn't actually work on many things that it was supposed to work on. They'll be adjusting specific things that need healing reductions directly instead. I actually didn't even know that this was a thing, but I did notice that many of the sources of healing in the mode were not healing me for as much as I expected, and I was thinking to myself, am I being affected by some sort of hidden healing reduction? Was I just affected by healbane and I didn't know it? So that actually clears up a lot, and I'm glad they removed it, quite frankly. Now let's take a look at the legendary item balance changes. There's just 2, but I still think it's interesting. First of all, Prism Blast's damage per second has been reduced from 300 to 270, but it still has really good spirit scaling. And the enhanced version of Unstable Concoction also got some changes, which I didn't even know there was an enhanced version of this. I haven't even gotten the normal version of this item. I guess I'm really unlucky. But yeah, enhanced Unstable Concoction now increases the bonus health, weapon damage, spirit power, and stun duration. That's funny, but it no longer increases the duration or cooldown. So, very interesting item. Unfortunately, you can't actually see those stats here in the sandbox. Maybe there is a way to see those that I haven't figured out yet. I can buy enhanced items, but it's just not working on the legendary items for some reason. But yeah, that is a very interesting change. And now for the Brawl-specific balance, and I can't showcase these changes in the sandbox, so I'm just going to read them to you here. First of all, Bebop's Laser. The big ultimate duration has been reduced from 11 seconds to 7 seconds. McInnes's mini turret cooldown has also been increased from 18 seconds to 26 seconds, so less mini turret spam. I really don't understand the hype behind mini turrets in Brawl, because whenever I see them, they just explode instantly. Maybe it's because I mostly play 7 in this mode? I don't know. They just seemed super weak to me, so I'm surprised to see that change. But the Medicinal Spectre's regen has been reduced by 20%. That definitely makes sense. I totally understand that change. And previously, it was totally unaffected by the global regen change, which is part of what made her so strong. 7's Storm Cloud damage has also been reduced by 25%. Yep, that's totally fair. And Dynamo also got some changes. The Rejuvenating Aura Tier 3 has been reduced from 2.5% to 2%, and his Singularity max HP damage has been reduced from 1.5% to 1%. Lash's Death Slam throw distance has also been reduced by 30%, and Ground Strike damage has been reduced by 10%. Warden's Last Stand healing has been reduced by 25%, again nerfing one of the most powerful ults in this mode. And Graves also got some changes. Borrowed Decree duration has been reduced by 30%, and the Ghoul damage has been reduced by 30%. It honestly feels like she almost has 100% uptime on this ability in the mode, so I am totally on board with these changes. Now, we do also have some buffs for underperforming heroes in this mode. Drifter's Blood Scent Isolation range has been reduced from 20 meters to 10 meters, which sounds absurd, but it makes sense in this mode because it's a giant team fight mode and he has no way to force a 1v1. So yeah, that actually makes a ton of sense. Holiday also got some changes. The Crackshot Spirit scaling has been increased by a staggering 1.4. That's pretty insane. And the Bounce Pad cooldown has been reduced by 20 seconds. Mirage's ultimate also got a huge cooldown reduction from 155 seconds to 60 seconds. And again, it sounds like a ludicrous balance change until you realize, oh, yeah, he has nowhere to actually go, so it's really just to get some relatively minor buffs. Okay, yeah, sure, he can have he can have more than half the cooldown shaved off that ult. All right, yeah, that's fine. And finally, I guess a bit of a surprise to me, Calico's ultimate is getting some cooldown reduction from 90 seconds down to 60 seconds. Okay. Interesting. Finally, we have 2 item changes here. Alchemical Fire's damage has been reduced by 30%, and Curse's duration has been reduced from 3.25 seconds to 2.75 seconds. So Brawl should hopefully be feeling a lot better now. I like a lot of these changes, and I think it's really cool that we're getting Brawl-specific balance. I do think that's definitely the best way to go about it, because none of these balance changes are going to affect the main game mode of Deadlock, but they're going to make the very silly casual game mode actually feel a lot more fair and better to play. So this is super awesome to see. But anyways, let me know what you think about the changes in the comments section down below. Do you agree with what they've done this patch? Personally, I think these balance changes are phenomenal. I like the direction they're taking the game. They fixed a lot of things like Gun Viscous that were too overwhelming, and I like to see Spirit Power getting some love. I think when we have a Spirit meta, it's just more fun than a gun meta because abilities are inherently more interesting than just shooting people. Both should be viable, but yeah, I think Gun was a little bit too prevalent, and I'm so excited to see, especially just Gun Viscous being gone. Gun Viscous is such an abomination, dude. But yeah, let me know what you think about the update, and also while you're down there, make sure to subscribe to the channel again so you don't miss out on any future videos from me. With all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.